So for the 2025 housing market for the Denver metro area, I'm just calling it a wash. We're still in the correction ever since the rates went up in spring of 22. And if you bought your house in 22, 23, 24, 25, and need to sell it, it's just how much of a loss are we going to take and what do we need to do to get it sold? Because a lot of those houses aren't selling, especially if they're pricing too high. So, what I'm doing is I'm already splitting into two market segments. I'm going straight to single family homes, which is blue for the 7 county metro area. And the red line is condos only. So I know in the past I've been talking about attached versus detached, but townhomes sit in this weird spot. And I really want to show you the swing and the dichotomy of what's happened in the single family home market versus condos. And a lot of the reason condos versus just townhouses is a lot of the lending changes that happened in 2024, that now that we've had a couple of years of those lending changes going into place, it's just exacerbated an already bad situation for the condos. Here you can see median price slowly climbing. I've done other videos on how when you actually break out the single family homes by price point, a lot of it's because the higher end homes are selling because the people that are buying homes are the people that have money to buy homes. They're not making a stretch to get into their first place. Just strictly on the quantity of higher end homes, it's driving these median and average prices up, but it doesn't mean that the average and median price of most homes has gone up. It's just more high end ones selling. But look at the condos. It's a struggle and it continues to be a struggle. People are finally coming around to it, right? I started talking about it a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, and enough people have come around to realize, oh man, this is a problem. I look at this stuff a lot more often than most agents do in the area. But if you look at height of value, I just want to give people an idea. Over the last couple of years, I've been looking at this data and saying, okay, attached properties have lost 12 to 13% value in a 2-year period. That doesn't mean every property. Macro market is very different than micro market. But looking at the condo market for the 7 county metro, height of the market right before the rates went up in 2022, median sold price of the condos 382,500. It actually went up to 325 for December closings, and that was November contracts. There's so few. Let me go ahead and throw this out there. Less condos went under contract in the month of December for 2025 than have gone under contract in any month since before 2009. And that's as far back as my data set goes. We got pretty close. We were down to 254. Here you go, in December 2010. Things were rough, right? The MLS data only goes back to 2007. Some of the user interfaces only back to 2009. So there's not a lot going on there. I fully expect the January close prices to be lower unless it's the really nice condos that sold, kind of like I mentioned on the price difference. But let's say 300 is the bottom of the market for the condos for the median price versus the 382.5. I think that shakes out to, what was it? I ran the numbers. Here we go. 21.5%, roughly 21.6% lower median price from height of the market to the bottom of the market over the last few years. When you're looking back here in 2009 to 2010, so let's say top of market was what, 135 for the condos, because I'm looking at the red line, and the bottom was 98.5. I think you were looking at 27%, right? Yeah, 27%. So they didn't lose as much percent value over the last few years, this market correction cycle, as they did in the last one. Obviously, I'm curious to see what the 2007 and 8 numbers were, like actually 2006. I don't have the data for that, but it's not great to lose 20% of your value from height of market seasonality to the bottom of the market over a 3-year period. I still don't think enough people are talking about that, because if you're trying to sell and you bought your place, whether it's single family or a condo in 22, 23, 24, it's rough. You're going to take a loss. The question is, how much of a loss are you going to take, and how do we get it sold as quickly as possible for the highest price to minimize those losses? So that's a lot of the sellers I've been working with over the last few years, not just condo, but single family too. Hey, I bought my house in 21, 22, 23. I know the market's not as great. First of all, thank you for understanding that, because some people still think we're here. That was a long time ago. I don't know if you've noticed what's going on in the world. It's a hot mess, which is why I've struggled to shoot these over the last few months, because I feel like talking about a market update when the world is a dumpster fire is not appropriate. But life goes on. People have different chapters they need to go through. People pass away. Families need to move in. People still have babies. Things happen. If we got to get from one chapter to the next, let's know what's going on. So my sellers, we've been minimizing the losses, trying to get whatever gains we can, but it's how you present the property that really makes a difference. I'll talk about that more when we get to the showing traffic. So let's go ahead. How much activity is going on? So the pendings on the condos, height of the market in 2021, you had 1,000 selling, and now you've got 246, so about 25% of those. Obviously there's a seasonal swings, but Not a lot going on in the condo world. Single family world is not a whole lot better. Traffic is pretty low on that too. Obviously, some of that is seasonal. And I look at the pendings because that's what's actually moving. That is buyers making offers, sellers accepting offers. The close number is a delayed number because what went pending in December will close in January and we won't see it till February. So I want to talk as close to what's current market condition as possible and have an idea based on pattern recognition and data what we think is going to happen in the next few months. That's why we study history. It's a lot of what I've been struggling with lately personally. So anyway, let's look at the patterns for the housing market. I'll keep it to that today. And we can see that activity's been really low, even for single families. But we've had these huge seasonal swings, which is why when I'm advising sellers, if the goal is to get top dollar, sell it quickly when the most buyers are out looking, let's plan for that. So I do help a lot of my sellers list and sell their property January, February, March, April, May. Doesn't mean things don't sell in June. It just means you're on the downswing and you're going to be chasing it down. So getting ahead of it is most important. But if you can plan ahead to list in February, March, April, that's when most properties are going under contract. The pendings, the pendings top out in April. Those close in May and June, which is why everybody's, oh, the prices always peak out in May and June. When do you think those houses are listed for sale? March and April. It also means I get really busy in March and April for my sellers. And for my buyers, that's when you have the most choices. So let's look at active listings. Not a lot to choose from right now. If you're happy with a Toyota Corolla and there's always 20 of them on the lot, then having 10 on the lot or 5 on the lot to pick from is fine. And you probably have more leverage to negotiate those, which is fantastic. So for my buyers that are not as picky and want some leverage, great. Shopping Q3, shopping Q4, January, February. For my buyers that are picky and they want choices and they want just the right thing in just the right neighborhood with the right updates and the right layout, and we're never going to get a 10 out of 10 because a 10 out of 10 doesn't exist in your price point, and this is for anybody. But if we want an 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10 when we're looking at places and you have a long list of criteria, this is going to be the better time to buy. March, April, May, you have more active places to pick from. There is more on the shelf. There are more cars on the lot to go look at and say, ooh, I don't want a Corolla. I want a 4th-gen Viper, and I want a specific color and a specific thing, and I want it to come from a certain part of the US because I don't want a rust bucket coming out of a different part of the country. Then we need peak season for choices. For houses, that's going to be Q2, early Q3, but really Q2. That's how I'm guiding my buyers and sellers whenever I'm talking about when to do things. Obviously, the rates will be what the rates will be, and nobody's crystal ball can control that. If we foresee a significant rate change coming down the road because of what the Fed is talking about or anything else, then I would say if we want to make a plan for that, we can, but we have to balance that with inventory and what your choices and priorities are. Right now, I wouldn't even try to do that because the rate condition is reactive to when somebody decides to wake up and spit something into a microphone that day. And that I don't want people's making their life decisions based on that. But unfortunately, those words can affect people's monthly payment $200 by the day. I can't control those. Understanding what you can control, what you can't control, what you can hedge your bets against, which you can mitigate your risk on. Can you buy down points? Do you want to secure lower rates with builders? Builders are offering crazy deals, pre-purchased forward rate commitments. New build homes, I've seen 3.5, 3.99%, 30-year fixed rate on new build homes. So your price is way up there because they're essentially giving you the discount on the rate side, not giving it to you on the price point. So if you got to sell in the next few years, you might be upside down on it, but it's going to cost you a lot less every month. And you can't line up all the dominoes just perfect, but we can do our best to try and have a few paths lined up and contingency plans. So anyway, sellers, peak season, hit Q1, Q2, buyers, more inventory, Q2, buyers, more leverage, Q3, Q4, early Q1. Showings, depending on average, it doesn't take condos quite as many showings to get under contract. They're not getting as much traffic per month. 2 showings per month on condos over the last few months, 2 to 2.5, and then 12.5 showings to get under contract. Obviously, nicer condos will get under contract quicker, but what that means is things are sitting on the market for a while. Doesn't mean there's something wrong with it. Just means there's not a lot of people out looking right now. There's not a lot of showing traffic. Seasonality, winter months, not a lot of inventory. But still, your condos, on average, for the 7-county metro, we're taking 77 days to get under contract, and your single family homes are taking 61. Now, when it comes to showing traffic, My properties tend to do pretty well, and I want to explain to you why. What I have seen consistently over time, whether it's in this market correction cycle or this cycle, regardless of what's going on in the market, is the nicer the home. And I'm not talking just, hey, it photos nice, but when you kind of look at it, it's a little shady. I'm talking the type A, detail oriented, engineer, OCD homeowner, because that's a lot of my clientele. My background's in engineering, right? So a lot of my clientele tends to be very detail oriented, very meticulous about things. Not all of them, but the homes that are cared for meticulously, marketed, presented, promoted meticulously, professional staging, professional cleaning, immaculate mechanical systems as far as records, and the ductwork's been cleaned, the carpets were professionally cleaned, the tile was steam cleaned, the roof was pre-inspected or just recently replaced. The trim at the top of the stairs going down has been recaulked and touch up and painted. I'm talking like to the T type, because I have a lot of clients like that sell their homes like that. Those are the homes that, regardless of the market condition, sell the fastest for the best price. Even in the current market, I've had sellers get multiple offers on their homes when things on average are taking 40 to 50 days to sell, because that's the nice house. People want the nice house, especially type A buyers want to buy type A seller homes. My analogy is you go to the car lot, you're looking for a car, and there's happens to be two of the same on the lot, or pretty similar, not exactly the same. Let's say they even have the same amount of miles on them, same age. One of them has handful of door dings, some curb rash on one of the wheels, the tires are a little worn, and maybe a chip in the windshield, because it's Colorado, that happens, right? There's a lot of road treatment. And then you open the door, you get in the car, and there's a split in the seat and maybe some crumbs in the cup holder. You haven't even turned it on. You don't know how it runs. You don't know how well it's cared for mechanically, but you already get this, I guess it's fine feeling. You look at the next car, pristine, perfect, so glossy you can see yourself in it. You would look like this thing just rolled off the factory floor and immaculately cared for. No door dings, no chips in the windshield, no curb rash, brand new tires. You open the door, everything is not only spick and span clean, the seat's in perfect condition, shows no wear on the seat. It even smells good. And you sit down. Neither one of these cars have you turned them on. They haven't run, you haven't heard them, you haven't driven them. And they may have the exact same amount of miles, but one was cared for meticulously and one feels a little used and abused. Which one do you think the super type A people, or anybody for that matter, are going to want to buy? They're going to want to buy the nice one, unless they want a deal, in which case they'll buy the other one, but they expect a deal for it. So they're going to lowball you. They're going to negotiate on the price, whatever. Because if there's not enough demand to buy both of them and you have the choice and they're both available and they both happen to be for the same price or even a small discount in the price between them, like the one that's worn more and has a discount, people will pay for the nicer one. Houses are the same. My meticulously cared for properties always sell faster. They very often get multiple offers. They are professionally staged, immaculately clean. They are the house that people are like, this is better than brand new. Can't find anything like it. Not everybody has that house that's been immaculately cared for, but that's why with my clients, especially sellers, it is not just paint and staging. People really can pick up on poorly done improvements. And I help my buyers look for poorly done improvements of which ones are done well, top to bottom. But if people can tell you cared for, which you can see, they automatically assume and expect, and most of the time, rightfully, you've cared for the things that you can't. That's what people are willing to pay for. And when houses aren't selling, that's how you get your house to sell. With my sellers, that's a lot of what I'm talking about. It's a lot of prep on the front end, but it makes the difference of selling the house and selling the house faster, which usually means for more money. Because the longer it sits, the first question that everybody asks is, what's wrong with it? A lot of the other ones that I'm like, maybe it doesn't look pretty, but as soon as this thing runs, it runs like a top. Sometimes it's the case, sometimes it's not. But depending on the buyer and seller situation, depends on your leverage, depends on your goals, depends on all these different things. And that's what I'm helping my clients with all the time. My big thing is if you want to sell your house and houses aren't selling, make it the nicest one on the block. Price it appropriately. Make sure if they're all priced the same, that yours is the best one for the price. That market will tell you what people will pay for the house. I'm curious what y'all are seeing out there. What are your plans? Are you putting your plans on hold because things are so uncertain right now? Or if you put them on hold long enough that you're like, nope, we're doing this. We're rocking and rolling. If you're looking to buy or sell, I do have appointment times on my calendar that you can pick from right down below. Happy to sit down and talk about it with you. I do expect that of all of my clients. We're going to spend a lot of time up front making a game plan so we can pull the trigger when the time's right. Whatever makes best sense for your situation, that's where we're going to go with it. Let me know how I can help there. And obviously, let me know what your thoughts are on the market. Hopefully, this was helpful. Thanks so much and have a great day. Stay warm.